just to remember that everything that life has given you, or put you through, puts you up for the challenges that you're going to be facing.
It's that 1% we're looking for, that Sam and I are looking for to get you out of your comfort zone.
But darling, on my mind, I'm feeling so fly up in the zone now. I'm like a golden crown, whirling high up in the sky. Oh, it's the way you make me feel so good right now. It's the way you make me feel so good.
Welcome to Coffee and Leadership with Pros. Coach Amanda here with the Richmond Goalkeeping Academy, and today I'm with the legend Tiffeny Milbrett.
Hi, hello.
And we're going to talk about a couple different things and topics that I think you guys will enjoy, but I'll get into that in just a moment. But can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I am getting older. Had just played in the game for many years. Grew up in Portland, Oregon. Went to University of Portland. Plenty of years of pro, national team, 3 World Cups, 2 Olympics, 1 in '99. Obviously, I'm not Brandy, but dang it. And obviously gold medal in '96 at Atlanta, silver medal in Sydney. So, and then continue to play pro. And then finally retired in 2011 from the game fully and started to transition to coaching, and here I am now.
Yeah, that's a big transition, but what a career.
Yeah.
That's humbling. I mean, just the fact, I got to ask you, because every Olympian I've met has a tattoo. Do you have the rings? Did you get a tattoo?
I have tattoos, but I definitely don't
get
have
the rings?
It was so funny. Just the other day, like, I promise you, I was like, how silly is it, like, to get Olympic ring tattoos, you know? And it's just like, well, but the other people were like, well, no, if you've actually been in the Olympics, it's actually pretty legitimate, right? And I don't know, I just kind of found that it was not in my desire to get the Olympic ring tattoos, even though I deserve to have them because I've been in there. So
you might have some goals. I mean, bucket list maybe.
Yeah, I don't think that'll change.
No, I'm still working on my first. So crazy story how we met. Last time I saw you was when I was 14, and God knows you probably can't remember that. I think it still blows your mind, the story, but. Or at least that's what everyone else says. But
well, I think I told you this earlier. I can't even remember myself back then. So
yeah, I think you said you're 80 now, right? I think that's impressive. Right. Whatever you're doing, that plant-based diet, I'm about to hop on it. But so I met you. Actually, I have the program here still. March 16th, and it was 2002, and I was 14. There was an after get-together after your exhibition in Virginia Beach. You were playing for New York Power. Was that your first year with New York? In 2002?
No, we actually kicked off in 2001, right?
Okay.
So yeah.
Second year.
Yeah, it was second year.
Okay, and you guys were playing the North Carolina Courage.
Okay.
And I saw you guys play. I knew the owners of the Hampton Roads Piranhas that hosted you there, which was the semi-pro women's team. And the owners... we're like, hey, we're having this get-together, Hometown Heroes. If you can get a ride, go over. I jumped in a random vehicle. Probably not safe at 14. Went over and saw a couple of my former coaches, and they encouraged me to talk to you. And you took a lot of time to really just answer all the questions I had, and, it'd give me advice on how I could make that track. And it's never left me in so many respects. I mean, it's a lot of the kids ask me, they're like, why are you so passionate? Why are you so passionate about mentorship and bringing pros in and so forth? And it was based off a lot of the girls from the Hampton Roads Piranhas and my past coaches and that conversation I had with you, because it made such an impact on my life. And so thanks to John Bush and Macklin Robinson, who made the connection to your PR agent. Thank you for having me in and giving me an opportunity to see you now at 32.
I mean, obviously what so many people don't know is you and I, we've conversed so many times now before this moment of this podcast, but So I just really appreciate having heard the story again, and even you retelling it for other people. But this is why it's so amazing to be able to be in a position, not only just for myself, where I got to try to eke out a career, right? And we helped forge the path, but you're also setting the tone, and you're always planting for the future as well, not just individually for yourself, but trying to help create, and trying to help create and forge and give the opportunity, make it viable for the next generation. I remember this was always very important with my team of ex-teammates, because we obviously had to fight for everything we got. We had to step away sometimes and strike federation as well. But it was always that if we don't do this, it's not just about us that we're impacting. If we don't do this, we're impacting the next generation of people who deserve it better. So that's been a big part of why hearing stories like from you, like this little 14-year-old, it really, we were doing it for that reason. And then how you impact, you never know how you're going to impact anyone. You just be yourself. You just play the game, that that you are fighting to play, and really wanting the career that you're trying to live out, that lives within your heart and your soul. And you just, it impacts you, the individual, but and then to hear how the extension of that might impact others, it's really nice. It is really nice. So.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll never forget that conversation. I know I can't imagine the millions of kids, like we've talked about, that you've probably met and autographed and taken pictures with, but it's those moments that you really don't know. Our job, I learned a long time ago, I thought as a coach I was supposed to change everybody's life, and I was supposed to see every end of the result, and I realized, no, I'm just a part of their journey. I am there to just sow a good seed in them. And I may not see the harvest side of that, but if I do, man, that's humbling and that's blessed. But I think we all go through those times as players and as coaches as well. And it's like, am I really making a difference? Like all the stress, and all the investment, all the traveling, am I making a difference? And then, small things like this come across our path, and it's like, you know what? I got to keep going. It's like it rejuvenates, would you agree?
Well, I just think, yes, because obviously for you it has that impact. I'm sure it has, for many others. And I think I'm just saying from my perspective of now dealing with young players as their coach, dealing with parents of those young players as their coach for the last 11 years now. And I think there's so many times where you're helping them answer that question, whether it's that former example of actually being on the field as a player, like which obviously I was for you then, or now it's like the old wise sage, kind of role that you give. And I find that there are so many people answering that question all the time, or being struck with difficulties and really asking what are they doing it for, or how are they going to get through some of these moments. And so I just think it's very individual for you, and it's very individual for that person and wherever they need to find that inspiration. You have to find that, and that is what will help keep you through, as well as maybe sometimes a recheck and a reset.
Yes.
Where you're investing because it's today.
Yeah.
We don't have control over tomorrow or the next day. And so I think for me, a big message for the young players and their parents is sometimes they too get caught up in, wait, I'm not here yet. I'm not this. They're not showing this. We haven't received this phone call from this college yet, or nothing. And this person has already been committed for a year. And what are we doing wrong, or what? it's like, wait, you're doing nothing wrong. You're invested in today.
Yeah.
And does your kid still want to be playing? Yeah. Do they love the game? Yeah. And so sometimes it's just really helping remind them what the investment really is as well. So I think just pulling this back in right now, just having kind of been in many different roles of being able to be an inspiration or be a guide, or I find myself in that role.
Yeah.
Have found myself in those various roles through the years, so it's been really cool.
And and speaking, just hearing you talk, I think one of the biggest things that I learned from that moment was of talking to you, but then watching all you 99ers. And for you guys that are maybe too young, you guys won the gold medal, Women's World Cup against China, 1999. Mm-hmm. The biggest word that comes to mind is humility, or I would say a few phrases: humility and giving back. Why is that so important to you, and why do you why is humility, let's start with humility and humbleness. Why is that so important? No matter how much talent you have or what level of game, why is that so important to have? A quality and character trait.
Well, I just think, to me, what humility really means is that you're really grounded in the process and the journey. Like, I don't know, like it's the reality of what it really takes is what keeps you humble. And so I think sometimes if you lose touch of what the reality is, maybe you're given too much too soon, maybe you don't really have to earn much at home. We talk, I don't want to continue to harp on what we know is that they have it better every day than probably what I had growing up, or more money, but like better homes, it's just an easier path. But is that really? Or if we're taking them a little out of, like the young ones now, out of the reality of really what it takes in life to do some of these things, forget even a sporting endeavor, to do, is it really are they really better off? Because then to me, like they're lost a little bit, or they're a step away from the reality of things. So to me, we want to be age appropriate always. We want to be, the right moment at the right time of discipline, or arm around, or demands increased, demands decreased, but we don't ever want to be the one that takes them away from learning the reality of what it takes, because then I think that takes you away from not only just the term that you've used in general, which is that humility piece. It just, to me, I think humility is just about reality.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. I've never heard it. I've always heard thinking less of yourself and more of others, but you're still remembering yourself in the moment. But I really like that piece, because I think that's a lot of kids with, I touched on social media and stuff like that, and just like how it's so easy to self-promote yourself. And then when you really meet the person, it's like, whoa, why is your social media like a lot more in depth than you? It's like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think it's so easy now to pretend and appear to be famous and appear to be like you have all your stuff together. But and when I see that, and when I really meet the people on the other side, it's like what you said, it's like you've lost touch with what it takes in the process. And it's about valuing that and respecting that in many respects. So
yeah, I think we're all like, aren't we always measuring the substance of somebody? Like even like when you said for example, you watched me play, or the 99ers play, and then you just talked about that story of like your friend coming up to you after you met me and going, oh my gosh, how was she? How'd it go? Like, that's the moment that you're now measuring and being able to explain the substance of what. And just think, I would have been horrified if you would have had turned her and said, oh my gosh, she was the worst. There was no brain in her skull. Like, she was just such a jerk. Like, I don't know. Like, would, maybe, oh, we didn't really get to talk too much, so obviously very busy. That's completely different.
Yeah.
But can you, I don't know. I believe that I have a care and a standard of myself that, I should have some substance to me. And so to be honest, like when you told me that story just a little earlier, like I was like more like, whew, because can you imagine the other way when let's be frank, we've met so many people where it's so disappointing, and not in those moments that, again, okay, obviously it's not the right time to have a conversation, or they might be super busy, or when you finally realize that there's really no substance behind that person, and that's disappointing.
It is, yeah, because they've been made out to be this amazing, person that's going to change the world, and really it's just, I don't want to call them a puppeteer, controlled by puppeteers, but in a way they are, and it's sad because for me, like, my heart goes out to them because, I can't remember if I was talking to you about it or somebody else, but the importance of depth. That, having depth, that just makes you so much more of a unique person to be around, and it's, here's the thing, because I think people struggle with that. A lot of people hide behind being surface because it's mainly masking their insecurities and what people don't want them to find out. What would be your recommendation on how to become more authentic and more real and developing that depth?
Yeah, I think it goes back to being grounded in reality as well. I don't know. I just know what the way that I was raised was real, because it was a single mom working paycheck to paycheck. There was nothing false about anything. It was completely, this is what it is. And I wanted to ask my mom many times to have a different narrative, a different story to, her work week. And it was like, well, no, Tiff, like, this is what it is. And this, so first and foremost, I think just the experience and influence of it's not a conscious choice of how I was raised. I was just raised the way that life was raising us, and
you were dealt cards and you had to learn to play them.
Yeah. So I think in most situations, obviously, for people who have a more cush to their life, or a little bit more opportunity to have, not being just necessarily a paycheck to paycheck single parent home, maybe kind of part of that, again, going back to, there's got to be more real reality to the foundation of how they're raised. I'm not a parent, and I do not want to be one, but all I can speak of is to what shaped and molded me. And again, as a young kid, at plenty of time, I wanted to go into a little fantasy. Can't we just have a little bit more money? And of course, no, it's not. So it's how we have to balance the foundation, how we have to balance how the reality that kids are learning, coupled with, obviously, life is a little easier with some of these moments, right? And so maybe just finding more of that balance of really allowing these kids to experience a little bit more of the reality piece that is life.
I can't agree with you more. I grew up biking 10 miles each way to practice and working 4 and 5 jobs, and I didn't find out until about 6-7 years ago that my goalkeeping coach was secretly scholarshiping me my last 2 years of high school.
Wow.
I had no idea, but it's those moments that they keep, I hated it. I hated the fact that I had to pay for a lot of my stuff. I had to pay to play. And I imagine myself having, a big house and living a big life. Can I go to that reality? What would happen if, I was just born into that or played that, What would that be like, if I had 3 pairs of cleats and I had options, not one pair that had to last me a season, and, what if I had 2 pairs of gloves, a match glove and a practice glove? My practice gloves were my match gloves were my practice gloves. Mm-hmm. And, but I think what I'm hearing from you most of all is just wherever you are, you've got to play the cards you've been played. And if you've been given a lot, don't forget where you came from and have gratitude. Maybe thank your parents.
Yeah. I mean, but that's a big responsibility for parents, but I think that's a huge part of their role. I mean, it is not just I do a lot of research. So again, I'm a good researching parent. I'm a good backseat
parent to your 22,
right? Right.
Surrogate at least.
But I do a lot of research because obviously I deal with the young people in this day and age. Like right now I have U13s. Last year I had U17, U16. So it just, of course, the last 11 years I've had every age group.
Yeah.
So of course I have to have a sense of trying to have kind of a parental frame of mind so I can put myself in their shoes if I'm making certain decisions, if I'm but no, I don't have the experience of that. But everything, all the research is pointing to that parents have potentially been a little too protective and a little too kind when the kid actually needs to feel some hurt. They need to feel some dejection. They need to feel some of these challenges, right? I mean, we've all heard the terms of the helicopter.
Yeah, I was just thinking that helicopter parent.
Right?
Yeah,
and even
trying to live through their kids or control every aspect,
or even the lawnmower kid, lawnmower parent.
Hold on, what's the
which
lawnmower
is even
parent?
Worse than the
I
helicopter.
haven't heard this one. Can you describe the lawnmower?
Really?
No.
The lawnmower parent is the one that like foresees every obstacle and comes in and mows it down so that the kid just
Saves
walks
them
right all along
from
that
resistance.
smooth path, right?
Yeah. And then they have the mental breakdown when they're 50 and they don't have anybody else to clear the path.
Yeah.
That's a false reality. Going back to why most can't be humble.
I mean, and it's no shame to parents. This is why I'm not wanting to be one, because I'm sure it's the most difficult, responsible job you could ever have. But I just
people want to give the best.
Yeah.
People, I know I'm not a parent yet, but I help parent my nephew a little bit, and I told you my brother passed away, and so I'm kind of filling this role, tell him who his dad is, and it sucks being dealt these cards. I'm still trying to navigate how I'm going to do this in the future, but I want to give him everything. I want to give him the best, but I also want to teach him that, resistance is only going to make you stronger, So, I mean, I feel you on that. Like, I can only imagine, but I think we have to think long term and not in the short term, wouldn't you say? Like, if you didn't go through what you went through, I'm just curious, because I've had to ask myself this question. If you didn't go through in the childhood and deal with the cards that you grew up, do you think you'd be the person you are today?
Absolutely not. I mean,
what about the player you are today?
Absolutely not.
Your career.
I mean, because I don't know, I'm assuming the amount of fire you had in your belly, and not just for the game, because of the fire that life downs created for you. So again, that fire, I mean, it's just the fire in the belly was just
passion.
Massive.
Do you feel like going through that adversity early on helped you with anything else, maybe cuts or being benched or maybe not making the national team camp or whatever?
Persevering. I mean, again, you have your private moments where you're down, or you call and you cry, to your coach or the...
You cry? Just kidding.
Very little.
Very little. Yeah. It's sweat.
Yeah.
It's sweat. I got you. Yeah,
right,
sweat
my
tears.
eyes are sweating.
I know.
Yeah,
my nose.
my latest. No, of course you have to ventilate, but like that doesn't help you with the reality of what you're going through. And so how are you going to get through it? I mean, you can step away, you can definitely remove yourself from that situation, or like when there's only one national team, or there's very few pro teams, or do you want to change the course of your career like 9 to 5, or do you want to so you stay in and you hang, you persevere and you push and you deal. The one thing I did want to say though is that I see so much love from these parents. You cannot fault how much love they have for their kids. Like it's really impressive.
Yes.
The sheer amount of support and love. But even with that, they can be to a fault too, right?
I think that's where you get the lawnmower parents and the helicopter parents is they love them so much. They want them to have a better life than they ever did. And it's just finding that healthy balance and a healthy medium. It's like I always learned, like, when a lot of people make changes in their life, and I know me too, it's like you were way over here and then the pendulum swung, whoa! And it's like you're kind of noticeably unrelatable, or it could be unhealthy, and it's like you want to be in that middle. You want to kind of balance yourself out, and I think that only comes with time and experience. And self-awareness. I think that's huge. But it's
because even with you asking about with all my experiences, well, I wouldn't wish some of those experiences even on me again.
Yeah.
Right. Let alone anyone else. So that's not the point either. I mean, we don't want
We don't intentionally go out and seek resistance.
Yeah. No. Right. We don't want some of those either. But for sure, like every single one of those shaped it.
One of my favorite quotes that I've had posted for years and years that you saying that just reminds me of it, and it says, in every adversity, there is a seed of equal or greater benefit if you look for it. And I think it's like, it's not that we go seek adversity or we seek these things to make us tougher or make us better. Don't do that. But don't avoid it when it comes in your life.
Totally.
Embrace it. Go through it, because going through it is what's molding and shaping your character.
Totally. And I do see in my experience through the years, too many parents are trying to soften that and or take it away.
Them.
Or take it away. I really do. I mean, even in all those years of experience in meetings and seeing personalities and having, having these young players, the types of things you discuss, and then when you're in the meeting you see how the parent is managing the child, and it's just so you get eye rolls from the child. Sometimes the child doesn't even want to hear it anymore. The player doesn't even. So it's really interesting to even be a fly on the wall, not even offering anything, just being a part of being a piece of this kind of interaction. And it's just like, whoa, what I'm taking out of it. You can see the nonverbal, you can hear the verbal, you can see the response. But what the parent also doesn't really understand, or what they really may not know, is I have also a relationship with this player day in and day out at training, through the season, weekend, at games. And so I see how they respond to me. And sometimes it's that way, of course, like an eye roll, and then it's just smack. No, I'm kidding. But and then you deal with. But it's okay, and it's expected. But for the most part, it's not. It's very dissimilar. How they're reacting to their parents is very dissimilar how they're reacting to me. So it's really interesting.
No, so here's the thing. I can see a lot of parents watching this asking me is, okay, you've convicted me, or I feel convicted. Not in a bad way, but I am that person trying to find the healthy medium. I'm trying to find the balance. What are your tips on how I can do that as a parent from a coach's perspective? What can I do where I still love my kid? I give them the best life that they can, but how can I maybe be comfortable in watching them struggle and grow and change through this while getting their feedback in the car ride home or at home, or seeing them be down? How can I be a support and a healthy support unit, I guess you could say, for them? So does that make sense?
Yeah. I just think it's complicated, but also at the same time, you've got to start somewhere. But I think it's kind of, I always call it that cross. All the while you're trying to educate yourself a little bit more about the journey and the sporting process, and maybe what is a healthy parent role within that. You're also, at the same time, you're giving more and more individuality to your player to be living their journey fully. I do. I think the best way is just you're that support. What does that really mean? And then your player is the player going through the journey. What does that really mean? So you have to educate yourself on, if you really don't find it a natural way of being both of those, if you think, I just think it all starts in a foundation of awareness, where you'll really have to be aware of what you're bringing to the table. How are you affecting your child? How are you affecting the player's journey? And how much voice and input are you, and how much direction are you letting your player have within their own journey? So I start giving my players so much of their team, of themselves, of like just within a team setting. They get it, but they know who's in charge.
Yeah, but you let them start making mistakes and then figuring out how to recover it and think for themselves.
That's just X's and O's. I mean, I'm just saying, as a personality, as trying to help them be themselves. It's really the environment that I'm really trying to create initially, first and foremost, that empowers them to be themselves. I mean, we even say, it's just the words like, I don't want them to be anything remotely what is me, or what I feel like I want them to be. I don't have any idea of what I want them to be. I know I want them to come to training. I want them to feel safe. I want them to be excited to be a player on the team, to be a player for the sports, and then I want to get to know them. Yeah. My job is to get to know them as much as I can as people within the team setting and as players.
You're helping them discover themselves and find themselves on the field as well as off the field, without influencing what you think and how they should live.
I just think what means off the field is just that you're learning their individualities. Yeah. Of the person that they are, the human being that they are, and being okay with that. I mean, or just embracing that, like, and really enjoying, this person is really shy. You'll have her for 12 years and she'll never speak 2 words to you. But yet she's the first one to ask me, God, this is going to give me tears. Like, she's the first one to ask me to reach out to a college on her behalf, right? Like, so I didn't realize that it was going to give me some tears. My eyes are sweating. Down here in Florida.
Oh my gosh, you should see the steam coming from off the turf. It's 99 degrees outside.
To just the kid that's so chatty, and then you can joke and you can say you're so chatty, let everyone else talk. Just having really organic interactions with the individuals that these players are is really incredible. And I just see that, to me, they're just yearning to be given more platform to be who they are, and more platform to maybe not like think that what mom, dad says is cool, because I see it all the time as a coach. They don't think what coach says every single second is cool.
No.
Right? So it's like, and it's okay. Yeah. That's okay. But if they need to get to work, it's time, work. But, like, I don't know. I just try to have a little bit more of an organic, open, two-way street.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so important. And I think we all have our processor kids. That's what most of my kids go, Coach, I'm just processing it. Give me 24 hours. And I get the text later. Wow, I needed that. Thank you. But that's so good. I think every coach, every player, parent, we need to understand that, because that's just such good perspective, what you said there. And the more the parents can see our perspective as coaches and former players, and the more the players can understand our perspective as coaches, I think the easier they are to be more receptive to what we do and why we do it.
So even through the years, I've had so many parents say, well, they're going to listen to you more than they will to me. And it's like, And I was like, okay, well, that's great. That puts a lot of pressure on the position that I have in their lives. But remember, my goal is to actually listen to them too. I don't want them to always listen to me, and I don't want them to always need to listen to me. I know what they mean, but in fact, what I'm trying to do for the last piece of it is you don't need anyone but yourself. We're here to be your support. Even as a coach, I want to be in a position, in a situation where I'm hearing from them and they have every right to do so. Yeah. And then I'm here to support. Well, you think that's okay? Okay, well, we think here, or what do you think there? All right, you guys want to do this? Perfect. Then what do you thought? What do you think? What do you guys see? You know, because I tell them all, it's not my team. This is not this is their team.
Yeah.
Right. So I think really trying to help them really come to know that we need to listen to them too.
That's so good. Like, I think that's something I've had to learn even as a coach, is they want to be heard as much as I want to be heard. That's true. It's something even as coaches we have to self-check ourselves. I think the biggest thing for me, I don't know how this relates to you, but I've had to learn this word, like coming from the reality I did in the past. The way I would escape my home life was to live so far in the future in my goals that I began to take that. It was a good habit, a lot of visualization, a lot of goal setting, but it took away from learning how to enjoy the journey and enjoy the moment. And I think the most important thing is learning to be present. And I think, I don't know, did you ever have that discovery along the way yourself?
Well, I just think for me to escape my home life was because I got to be on the sporting field. I got to be on the soccer field. I got to play basketball. It was sports. I mean, my passion was sports. But it's funny. I have dreams, but they didn't even exist. But I had dreams. I mean, seeing like Olympics when on the TV, it was just track and field in 1988, right?
Yeah.
Or the volleyball, Flo Hyman. You see Jackie Joyner. Flojo, right? Like you see all these, but we didn't have women's soccer in there. No. I was like, that's where I want to be. I didn't want to be a track star. I knew that. I didn't want to play volleyball. Too short, right? But I just knew that that's where I wanted to be in terms of competing.
Sure.
But I didn't know I was so young.
How old were you? Because you played 1996 was the first time they ever allowed women's soccer in the Olympics.
Right.
And you guys won gold.
Right.
That was your first Olympics, right?
Well, it was the first Olympics.
That is true.
Well, but yes,
for soccer,
and it was
soccer.
and
yours
for women's soccer, and yes, it was my first Olympics as well. So 2000 was the second.
How, what was that like? You know,
I don't know. I'm telling you, I
don't
know.
You when you went to your first Olympics?
23.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't know. Brandy Chastain and I, we've talked about this some years ago, where because we were in residency in Orlando, preparing, and you don't know what you don't know, and so of course we've only experienced Olympics by watching it. I had never even been in the stands at an Olympic Games before. Maybe some other players. So we're just. I don't
Cloud
know.
9, basically the whole time.
Yeah, and so just even that 6 months of prep just was so naive. It was just so because we had no idea what we truly were preparing for, and so then you have the reality of experiencing that Olympics, and then you fast forward a few more years where we're back at residency in Orlando, preparing for the World Cup, and now it is mind-bogglingly different, that preparation, because now you know the reality of a competition of that magnitude. Now you know the reality of winning and you don't want to. Now you know the reality of really what it means to be hosting, because obviously we're hopes that 99 World Cup we were host. No, we had no idea even in those moments that it was going to grow into what it grew into either. Just like the Olympics, we didn't know. But I'm just saying, take those sheer competitions. We had never before 96, we had never been in any competition like that. Even obviously World Cup in Sweden in 95 was this little, you're in little college stadiums, if you will, with college like size
stands.
Yeah, or just parents.
Fits like 500 people.
Right. I think it was like 2,000 or
2,000.
like, so even that was like not, I mean, it was because even China, I guess in 91 was huge crowds, but that was probably government forced, right? Like,
but I can only imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, but that was even, and so again, it was just to go from 91 to 95, and then you go, and I wasn't in 91, but I was in 95, but to prepare it, like, there was no step in there that prepared you to, like, the greatest competition on earth is the Olympic Games. Like, seriously. So, again, so naive and innocent. It was beautiful. Like, we talked about it, like, a lot, where that was so beautiful because we were way more relaxed. And then you fast forward, and it's like nothing about preparing for 99 was relaxed at all.
I can't. Yeah. So, how old were you in 99? Like 26?
Yeah.
26. Okay. Everything you know now. I love asking this question because people ask me this question too. And it always like gets me really thinking. Everything you know now, if you could go back in time to your 26-year-old self or your 23-year-old self getting ready to step on the pitch for your first Olympic game or, for the 99 FIFA World Cup, well, what advice would you tell yourself?
Well, it's interesting. I think the advice that I would give is just, like, just to remember that everything that life has given you, or put you through, puts you up for the challenges that you're going to be facing. So again, this is bringing it all back from the very beginning, like, where this is why, even when you're younger, life it's challenging, and I know people go through extreme hardships will never fully understand or know, but it's for a reason, because even life when you get into the adult ages, like, is even worse. It's even way more challenging. It's way more. So again, everything that you're going through into those moments, even though you didn't want to go through bad things, even though you didn't want those disappointments, those tears, those horrible things, or challenging living single parent, latchkey kid, those pieces, like, it is setting you up to now face, even these greater challenges in a professional arena, that you couldn't ever imagine. So the advice I would give myself is, like, you're ready for these moments, and even those moments, going through those moments and challenges but the reason why you're here is because of everything that you've gone through and that you continue to fight through, and you're gonna need it more. It will challenge you even more in new ways, but thank goodness you've gone through what you have. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily advice, other than just looking back on reflecting, and part of our conversation is this is why it's so important that you can't shield from challenges, because it is setting you up to be able to face something greater for the future.
That's so good. I know like 6 people right now that I can text this podcast to, and they're going to go, I needed that. Like, that's huge. We touched on a lot of different things in your journey, and that was more than what this is why I started the podcast. You and I talked about it the other day, but I think this is for our pros out there, or our recently retired pros or past pros, but how do you find yourself after the game when you've played your last game?
Well, I think now, obviously I retired. I even didn't want to be pushed out of the national team. So my last camp was in January 2006. That was after a bit of a hiatus, because I stepped away when April Heinrichs wasn't released after we lost in 2003. I didn't, we lost, I just, and then obviously after, now we look back and there's a lot out now about that time, and I was the only one who stepped away. But at the time too, personally, I lost Clive Charles, my biggest mentor. He passed away, and everybody deals with things differently, and I just needed time. I just needed change. I really am somebody who believes, in order to make a different outcome, you've got to do something different if it's not working for you. And so very individually, and I know people are like, wow, no one's ever done that before, and they, but it was what I needed to do. And I don't know, I know there's been some grief given, and but I absolutely feel no guilt. I felt upset and sad that it was the only course of action that I could take was to remove myself. So after all those years, and even just January, so then I was brought back a little bit with the Greg Ryan stuff, and then not selected in 2006, so then that was my last national team, and then like finishing out pro, it was that second league that started. I was FC Gold Pride, and
was it WPS, right?
Yeah. And I could have continued on playing, but no one wanted to pick up. Now I think I was 37, even though I proved to myself, I felt like I proved to myself, and I proved to others that I could be just as good at 37. But it just, so again, in these moments where life doesn't, so that probably took me, even though I was 37 and I have had all the accolades that you could ever dreamed of, I had all the accomplishments team-wise, championships, gold medal, it still hurts you that you aren't selected, and it still hurts you in some moments, or in some aspects, that it's still not 100% your choice to say, I'm stepping away. And so it does take some time. I mean, not even just that little bit of an ego crush, if you will. But you've also lived your life the way that you've lived your life. It's all you know. So that kind of transition doesn't come easy, doesn't happen overnight, and it's years in the making of that transition. So it treated me probably for the better part of 4 to 5 to 6 years to fully transition out of, think about it, 37 years of me, but how at 37 years
probably
old,
30 years of playing at least,
right?
that's almost like a lifetime. That's a career,
right?
Beyond a career, I would say,
right. And I've played pro in Japan and Sweden and Canada and the US, and national team from being my first camp in 91 to crazy. Obviously my last camp in January 2006. I mean, we're talking like
that's almost 20 years just with the national team.
Not quite, but
close to, my math might be bad. Wasn't my best subject. Sorry. Better soccer player. No, don't pull out the calculator.
Let's get it out.
I'm gonna have some kid text me, Coach, it was like 16 years. Sorry, I don't know. But anyways.
Right? Like, we're just saying, like, all those years of travel and teams and, like,
friends. Good God. Like, the friendships, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's surprising. Like, it's surprising to me because I'm wired a little differently. Like, first and foremost was my career. It's like, I wasn't
business
there to
first,
make
guys.
friends. Exactly. So that's just my little caveat right there. It's like, it's really important to me as a female athlete to be respected for choosing that as a career path first, not because of social. So that's
makes sense.
Why.
I mean, that should be every pro athlete's reason why
we're female side where it's like, oh, you get to make so many friends and it's just like, no, I really take I mean, so again, it's really important for me to just disclose that, where I think just as you would expect a male to choose their career path because it's their career is first,
sure,
I mean, it was for me too, right? And not because of the friends I'll make or
I feel you.
the social aspect of it.
It's a business. I mean, no different than what I'm doing with my academy. No different than what you're doing here at Tampa Bay. We're here to do business first.
Yeah.
The blessing in disguise is we do make some really good friendships along the way.
Yeah.
That it's awesome to be able to go back and run things across people or just socialize with them.
Yeah.
But the real reason that brought us together is the game in
Yeah.
itself. And we got to keep that first.
Yeah. And so choosing, obviously, all those years as your first choice is this is your career.
Yeah.
And then to think about it, transition out of and start transitioning into a new career, it's quite weird. You know, and it's
I can only imagine.
Quite weird. It's quite strange. It's quite lonely. It's just, it does take time. I think it's different for everyone, but for me in particular, it's just that transition of 4 to 6 years of it, and then obviously coming out of that 6 years, you're starting to really be okay, and you're now starting to really take hold into that new career. And
what did you do after you retired?
So I transitioned. So 2009 and 10, I started coaching U8s, U9s at one of the local clubs.
Okay.
There in
so
the Bay
you were
Area.
already starting to go that path. Okay.
Well, I mean, I was 35, 36. I mean, and writing was on the wall, right? For sure. But
unless you're John Bush that plays till he's 42.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna mail you some glucosamine, John.
And so that that to me was, and I wanted to start coaching, and so that was that natural progression of really starting to that transition phase of starting to coach all the while the last couple of years of playing pro.
Yeah.
Excuse me, before I finally retired. And so then when I did, then I started just immersing myself coaching full time.
That's really cool. So you touched on one word, and I've heard this from friends that are now retired pros: loneliness. What is your best advice for those pros that are struggling with that?
That it's normal, it's okay, and just continue to embrace the good days and the bad days, and embrace the new journey, but all the while knowing that you're probably going to be in a period of muck and confusion, but also excitement. I mean, there's great days. So you're like, thank goodness, I could never imagine doing what I did 5 years ago, 10 years. There's embrace those moments too, where you're really grateful that you can actually leave it behind.
Sure.
And not have to do some of the things that were absolutely excruciatingly brutal, like working your body all the time, not mental, like the mental prep, the mental, like it's just acuity and stimulation and just everything that just goes into some of that. You believe it or not, like there are moments throughout every single day, even in that transition and muck, that you're going, well, do I want to go? And you're like, no. So that's a freeing moment too, where you keep tapping into why it is the right time to be transitioning into your new career as well, because you're ready.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's confusing, it's just weird. It's this weird transitional phase, and it has everything in there. But feel it all. I just think you have to feel it all. Get help and support if you need, but.
That's one thing too that I've heard too is like, just why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling lonely? But also the mental thoughts of not being enough. I think I can relate to that, because even me, when I stopped playing, it's like, okay, what do I do now? Like I started coaching like 6 months later, and I was just like, this is all I know. My day's been structured around practices. I've met all my friends of friends of friends, through teams I've played on, and but the thoughts of not being enough in the world, maybe this is too personal, and tell me if it is. And I mean, did you ever struggle with that, or like, do you know people that did? And what would your advice with people that maybe coming off the field, ending their game, are struggling now with that part of their self-image and mental game?
No, it's not too personal at all. I mean, you're low. you are really low with some things, just like in that muck phase, because again, it's enough to know you are transitioning on, but you're still too close to it to think that you can still.
Yeah.
You know, and so of course you're really low, and then it depends on just everybody takes it a little differently. So I was just really low, just because you've known something for so long, and now what the heck? I mean, because let's just be honest. I mean, I've been coaching now for 11 solid years. I mean, we're talking 2-3 teams a season. So it's probably comparable to 15, 16, maybe 20 years of coaching, where coaching does not replace playing. It absolutely does not.
No.
Like, there's no amount of, you can still get excited on game day, but you're not playing. I mean, you are not a player, so it does not, but it's just another, so you also have to ventilate and really come to terms with how are you going to release the physical side of what you're not getting anymore. And that's a weird transition too.
Yeah. I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
Stay away from desk jobs, but stay mobile as much as you can. Yeah, it's definitely, I think for me personally, like the biggest thing is I love working out as a team in a gym and having that personal trainer there to like walk me through it. And then all of a sudden when I'm faced to train myself, it's like, why is this so hard?
But it's interesting because I didn't even see it as a workout when you're competing through the sport. And so it took me too long, and it's still to really enjoy a workout, because remember, working out's not fun.
No.
But playing a sport and competing through, now that's fun. And so how you meld those and really, maybe some people won't. I don't think I've fully melded those, like a workout is equal to competing in a game or train. No, it's not. Yeah. So but I played because I love to compete and I love to play the sport. A workout is much different. So I still haven't really found kind of that connection, but obviously a workout means muscle, feeling strong, releasing some energy, getting tired again.
Yes.
Good things, really good things. So that's how I've had to try to be motivated through a normal workout now versus just competing and playing. That took some time to learn too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. Well, let's wrap it up. Real quick. I think we covered all of our topics here, and some. This has been really, really good. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's one thing that you can leave the kids that are watching this, parents? What's one thing that a piece of advice that comes to mind that you would leave them?
Yeah, I just think it's you're always making a choice for today. I just do. I think people, I don't know, so many people like, well, it's when we talk about like, well, you made it and but I was you and in this position, so where I hadn't made it.
Yeah.
So what do you think I'm doing? I mean, I'm still working. I'm still
exactly.
I'm still playing to my fullest. I still am trying to be the best that I can be. Like, we never know. We never know what's going to be next week, let alone so I really just, you can't ever think about the end destination of that you made it, because you really have no idea if you will. You really have no idea what's coming. I just think that what we can do is make sure that we really are doing it for today.
Yeah.
With obviously how much motivation you have. Is it really what you have a passion for? Mm-hmm. I think that's the next step. Then you can, I think it's really assessing, because there was no question for me, did I want to do every single day to be the best I could be, to play, to run, to, to move, to compete. Absolutely. Every single day. And I think if we need to be more aware of assessing why we really are choosing our everyday, okay, then we should. than we
Yeah.
should, because I know for me, I didn't do it because I knew I was going to make it. There's no way. I have no idea. So I just, I don't know. I really get offended sometimes. Well, you made it. Well, yeah, I made it because of every day.
Yeah.
And then fortune, luck. There's a bit of luck in there too, but like working my tail. But it's because it's what I wanted to try to do every single day, and I have no regrets about giving my best. And I just great. I kept growing. I kept improving. I kept reaching new levels. We don't know. We're not guaranteed that. So,
Can I ask you something?
yeah.
It's a question I get. I remember having this question with myself. When is it time to retire? At whatever level. When do you know? Besides whether somebody's picking you up or not, when do you know? What's that piece of advice that you give somebody that's questioning, is it time to stop playing, or should I keep going?
Well, I don't think it's ever time to stop playing. You have every opportunity available to you to play at any level. It's no different than youth. When we have youth programs, you have every level you can play at. Now the difference is, can you handle potentially not playing at a level that you feel you should be at, or if you're not continuing to be picked there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, can you handle that? Like, let's say you want to be at a certain level, but you're not being picked for it. Do you want to play at a level down or wherever you get picked or chosen for? And this is even in adulthood or even in college, or you can,
Youth level too.
Yeah, totally. Or you cannot. You could choose to not play it. I don't know. I think we have of course, and that's what I've always said is that's the greatest heartbreak for me as a coach, when you see a kid that completely does everything right, totally wants it, good teammate, like works so hard to reach their potential, like really does nothing wrong, and they're not going to make it. It's the biggest heartbreak. I mean, that's reality. But that kid will still be able to find places to play. They'll still be able to enjoy the game if they want. No, they're just not going to reach their dreams. But they've reached their potential. Like, so I don't know. How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things I combated, maybe it was the prayer I said when I was 12, can I be 5'4" 3/4" like Mia Hamm? And I am, I don't know. But being a goalkeeper, it's not your ideal height that you'd want your keeper to be. So I had to do everything you just said. And, it's something that even resonated with me, like, am I done yet? And it was a big decision I had, but I knew I was, and I retired at the right time, and everything happens for a reason. But kind of bringing it, just touching on a lot of the things that we talked about here, about adversity. A lot of people ask me kind of the same, like, you made it, do you regret it? Do you regret leaving early and walking out on a college scholarship, to choose character? I didn't have the best coach at the time, and I made a character decision, and I was ostracized for it. And it's like, when I look back, I did regret it for a moment, but now when I look back, hindsight 2020, where I am now in life, no, because every single thing I did, I was the hardest working kid on the field. I was the one that you'd be sitting in the car watching me, and after you wrap up, I'd go out by myself and be practicing again, and it's like, I reached my potential, but everything in that moment taught me what I needed to be as a coach and an influence in other places. And it's like, if I didn't go through those adversities, just like if you didn't go through your adversities you did in your childhood, we wouldn't be who we are now and be able to impact.
Well, just think about it. I stepped away from national team after 2003. So I missed the Olympics. I mean, and again, think about it. In 2004.
Yeah.
Assuming I would have made it, but I stepped away knowing that I was leaving the first dream that I ever had as a young person is to go to the Olympics. And again, I remember I experienced 2 of them already, and that was the hardest thing. But again, that's on the one hand, but on the other hand, there's so many other things that are the most important for the reasons why you choose to make a decision. And so do I regret that? No, not at all. I regret that it had to come to that point.
Sure. Yeah, same. I can see that. That's a really good way of looking at it. I'd have to agree in my situation as well.
I regret that it had to come to that point, but it did. And so so many other people would choose something completely different, or how many varying decisions there are within. But for me, at this moment where I was, what was important for me, what I needed to do for myself, there's no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much for everything. And guys, thank you for tuning in, and have a great week.